Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great day, night, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. By the time you listen to this, my review for this film will be up on the channel, the review for The Integrity of Joseph Chambers. But I am honored to have the star of said film. You know him from several things, including Smoking Aces 2, A Walk to Remember, Swim Fan, Lethal Weapon, one of the most underrated films of 2021 in The Killing of Two Lovers, which if you've not seen that, for fuck's sake, please go see that movie as soon as you can. I've got the man, the myth, the legend. I've got Clayne Crawford. Clayne, how you doing, sir?
Joshua, I'm just glad you got my mom's text, because if it had not come through before this interview started, I was going to be extremely disappointed. Thank you for that introduction.
Would have been real awkward if hadn't gotten
completely
that
awkward. I'm like, if you had said just like, "Hey, this dude's here," whatever. But thank goodness, mom's text came through.
They're the best, aren't they? So I just want to jump in here because you've done a couple things I think are really that have gone under the radar. That in conversations with fellow film nerds, it's something that I'll your name comes up is how I'll put it. And I want to talk about Rectify first, because that's one of those shows that I remember I kind of just caught by accident. But as I started watching it more, I was like, there's a lot of layers to this show, and the performances are really, really varied and quite wonderful. Yours in particular, playing Ted. I wanted to ask you in particular, what was the, how do I put this? What was the emotional taxing of playing that character like? Because because Ted, without spoiling things, does a lot of shit where I just found myself going, and just being mad at you, but being appreciative of what you're bringing to the role, because I know it's got to be a not fun place mentally as an actor to go there to get those performances across. So I guess what I'm asking is, like, what sort of motivations were you bringing to that character, and how easy / hard was it to disconnect from that character?
Wow, you hit me with the Rectify questions. First of all, working with Ray McKinnon in that cast completely spoiled me as an actor, because everyone showed up every day with a desire to make it great. And that's not always the case on sets. Sometimes it's about pumping out quantity, not quality. And everyone there left their egos in their glove box, in their vehicle, and came to set open and ready to play in the sandbox. When Teddy was, for me, Rectify was a long audition process. I think I had 4 or 5 auditions and tests, and kind of going before the network, because AMC was they were in control of Sundance at that time, or it definitely was all under the same umbrella with IFC and we. And Ray pulled me aside before I kind of got the answer, and he goes, "This character is going to go places that is not going to be comfortable." And for me, inside, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, like I've never had the opportunity to really get into something. So I'm like, this dude is pulling me aside saying, "Can you handle it?" essentially. And I'm like, put me in, coach.
Yeah.
So, but what I didn't know is I was going to have coffee grounds in my butthole.
Bit uncomfortable.
That wasn't shared, right? So he's like, "I'm going to give you the first 3 scripts to read," and I'm like, "Oh, got it." I went to school with this guy. I know who this guy is. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's wearing Tommy Hilfiger. He's got stuff tucked. There's a braided belt involved. He's got everything tucked in tight, getting that haircut every 2 weeks. I got it.
Yep.
Driving a big truck to make up for the lack of whatever. And yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. What I didn't realize was that I was going to have the opportunity to humanize this human being. And my understanding of television going into that job was that there's the good guy, there's the bad guy, there's the smart girl, there's the this, there's that, right? And Ray created a series where people were human and no one was a specific type, that we were all capable of incredible kindness and love, and at the same time great violence depending on the situation that we found ourselves
Yes.
in. And that was groundbreaking, I arguably, at that time. Sopranos was really touching on some great things as it relates to the anti-hero, and so was Breaking Bad. But what Ray was doing was just super unique at that time. So I tried to just always play Teddy honestly, that he loved his wife very much. His mom left, so he doesn't have a mother, which is really challenging for a boy, maybe even more so than not having a dad.
I'd agree with that.
And then when he finally had a family, he was ignored because there was this guy in prison, which everyone was trying to make sense of. So Teddy was kind of just left, and all he's ever wanted was love. So when he found Tawny, it was just the greatest thing that ever happened to him. And he desperately didn't want to let go of that. So it was quite easy for me to understand Teddy and empathize with him. And then, yeah, I was put in some very challenging situations when I have art, with a little dustbuster trying to get coffee grounds out of my butt crack. But through that humility and being humbled like that, just really opened me up as an actor. I grew up as an actor on that show, and it taught me, because of Ray McKinnon and all the other actors, it taught me how to be an actor, and it prepared me to go do Lethal Weapon and then these films that I've been making.
Yeah, because when I was watching the show, because I during lockdown, I was just kind of spitballing with people about like shows I would recommend, and that was one of them that came up in conversation, and it's something I'm going to end up revisiting in full at some point. But is there anything from that show? Is there a memory from that show, like in particular, that you hold dear, or is there a scene that you kind of, was there any hesitancy? I mean, obviously the coffee grounds, not fun, but was there a scene that you kind of read and you maybe like cringed at and went, oh shit, maybe this is too much, or anything that required any soul searching on that level? Like,
as far as good memories, we shot in a little town in Griffin, Georgia, that was like a quintessential small town with a main street and courthouse and
okay,
just amazing, right?
yeah,
And literally the tire store, Teddy and Tawny's house, it was all right there. So you could like ride your bike or walk to work every day. So the whole experience, and I live on a farm in Alabama. So it was a 2-hour drive to Griffin, Georgia from my home. So I was able to be back and forth with my family all the time. So it was bliss, okay, as a job goes. Scenes, there was a scene that I read, episode 5 of season 2, that I felt Ray was going backwards, when I was really hoping my character was making an advancement in the way he communicated and the way he saw things. I think it was episode 5. It's a party with Aiden or Daniel. And I remember thinking, Ray, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And I was completely wrong, right? Because what Ray was showing is, even as we grow emotionally, we still are who we are. So yes, we may take these steps, but fundamentally, the true growth takes real time. But as it relates to like the most toughest scene we shot, towards the end of season 3 or 4, I can't remember what it was, but it's when Tawny and Teddy are finally breaking up.
yeah,
Like a 9-minute scene where we're breaking up in the bedroom. And Addie finally leans up against the wall. That's amazing. I just got emotional. Um, Addie leans up against the wall and she puts her hand in her head and she says, "I can't do this anymore." And that's Adelaide Clemens, not Tawny, because we shot that scene for 12 hours.
Damn.
And Ray was so loving and supportive because that was a super long day. And yeah, there was a lot of scenes like that Ray just wrote that were so real. It's amazing. I haven't thought about that show in 5 years. And it's amazing how it's even affecting me now. That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, we just got the 5 minute warning, so I should probably ask you about the
We should
about the
talk about the movie.
movie. Yeah. So one thing I love about this movie in particular is that it's really a showcase for you. You get several scenes to just be out in the wilderness and just be you. But I love what it says about the toxicity of masculinity as far as what we look at as far as like what we view as being a man and what Joe feels like in that sense and in that moment of what he feels like he needs to do in order to prove himself. This is your second time working with Robert, who directed you, of course, in the aforementioned Killing of Two Lovers. What is it about Robert's style, in directing style, that allows you to trust him? Because I think you get great performances no matter what you're doing, but this 1-2 combo of Killing of Two Lovers and then this movie, I was like, goddamn, like I feel you ascending as far as your acting and as far as you being okay in the uncomfortableness of these characters you're playing. So kind of talk to me about like how Robert allows you to be comfortable and what drew you to this.
You know what it is, man? I've every job that I've ever been on, I've had to kind of fight and claw to get that job. You know, they don't hand out acting jobs at LAX, and you're just so terrified that you're going to lose that job. Because Hollywood is super, it's rough, right? And
Yeah.
they throw people away really quickly. So every job that I went into, I was so grateful that I had it because I've always had children. You know, my wife and I have kids and a whole family. So it's a job as well as a passion. And it wasn't until I was writing the check that I said, I'm going to play this the way that I want to play it and the way that my heart tells me that it should be played. And Robert, you know, by trade is a DP, right? He's a photography professor at BYU. So for him, he's all about the technical and making sure that it looks beautiful and that the frame is right. So he's let me do what I want to do. And it's been so absolutely freeing. So I think it's a combination. I think it's having that experience with Rectify where I learned so much from Ray and my other cast, Aiden and Abby and Addie. And then going through Lethal, where I was able to carry this thing that was kind of this action comedy thing. And I felt like I was able to put it all together to where I truly was confident in what I could provide as an entertainer because I'm not a trained actor. I never went to acting school. So it's been on the job training for me. So it took 20 years of just doing it and scraping and clawing before I got it. And I kind of told my wife it in a crazy way. I feel like at 40 I started my career, and that was with The Killing of Two Lovers. And I hope that now I can build on that the rest of my career. And I'm just super grateful for all those experiences, good and bad, in those 20-year period to really understand where my place is in the profession and what it is I have to offer.
I love that.
Mm.
So since we got the warning, I'm going to ask you one more question here because you have this great thing going, because you've really, I think, gone in several different directions as far as what you can do. Is there a certain genre? Is there a certain thing that now that you feel like you've started your career, you're like, I want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, watching Sicario and Hell or High Water and Wind River, what Taylor Sheridan is creating seems like something that's it's really exciting, you know. I love the idea of playing a cowboy. I love that era right after the Civil War when this country was really trying to figure itself out and survival was kind of in tandem with innovation.
Okay.
And I love that idea of that world. It's the Western, something I've never, and I think The Killing of Two Lovers in a lot of ways is a contemporary Western.
Yeah, it
You
definitely
know,
flows in that realm. Yeah.
it definitely feels in that world, you know. So I love that idea. I just worked with Paramount Plus and 101 Studios on a film that Brian Hagelin directed called The Finest Kind. It's Jenna Ortega and Ben Foster and Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh,
Great
nice.
cast.
Okay.
And I'm curious, kind of what those guys are creating, you know, out there. It's this whole kind of universe that Taylor has created is pretty interesting. So yeah, curious what that might turn into.
Okay, what's the name of that movie again? So I can know
Called The
that.
Finest Kind, and
Finest
I
Kind.
think
Okay.
it'll be out this fall.
Perfect. I'm gonna keep my eye out for that. Before I get kicked off here, I just want to say one more time, Clayne. I had such a joy watching this movie. I was captivated from. I felt very similar to the opening of The Killing of Two Lovers, where I just see you running, and I love that opening shot in particular because we have to sit there in the awkwardness of what the character has experienced and what's happened to start off the film. And I'm so happy there were just no cuts or anything in that we have to, as the audience, stay in that. And I love how there's this one point in this movie, without not spoiling anything, but where you're playing baseball by yourself and we're seeing Joe just kind of unravel in these certain moments, and the way that you're able to convey that and not spoon feed the audience, the way that you're able to convey that just with your emotions and just with your facial movements. And just there's one scene where you break down from this truck and you just start crying, and I was just sitting here, and even my cat was like, what the hell's going on? Like, we were both just kind of like amazed by the performance you were giving. So Clayne, sir, thank you so much for making the time. I can't wait to see what you do next.
You're awesome, man. I really appreciate all your kindness.
Anytime, sir. You take care of yourself.
You as well.